Stay an extra night on your weekend getaway. Read a good book. Binge watch your favorite show on Netflix. Or simply spend invaluable time with the ones you love. What would you do with an extra day off every week? When you think about the work week, do you cringe at the thought of having to work 5 long 8-hour days? In some cases, many people work even more than 40 hours a week. I would bet that more people would be in favor of a 3-day weekend than opposed. In this speech, I will provide evidence to persuade my audience to see the importance for a working person to have an extra day off. Not only does a longer work weekend benefit the employee, it can actually help the workplace too. Let's put some things in perspective. Stay with me. If we were to calculate, by today's standards, the percentage the average person spends working throughout their whole life, the numbers are shocking. Let's say you work for 50 years of your adult life, age 18 to 68, under some kind of paid employment. If we take the average amount of hours worked per week, which was 39.2 hours in 2014, according to the annual survey of hours and earnings, then you will work a total of 92,128 hours in the course of your working life. Now this is also subtracting a generous 5 weeks of holiday per year. Given these numbers, it equates to 35% of your total waking hours over a 50-year working life period, and 21% of your total waking hours over a 76-year lifespan, assuming that you sleep 8 hours per night. Also, this means you will spend 50% of your total waking hours at work during any given working day. Of course, these numbers will vary from person to person, but for the average person, you spend a sizable amount of your life working. Today, the 40-hour work week is an outdated relic that employers cling to that not only exhausts employees, it hurts business. Many employers still believe that 40 hours a week is actually how much time it takes to get the work done. Most of those 40 hours is actually wasted. A recent survey from At Task, conducted by the Harris Poll, found that employees only spend about 45% of their workday on primary job duties. The other 55% comprises of browsing the internet or going to pointless meetings. But if we think that the amount of time we spend at work these days is bad, try going back about 100 years. The average worker clocked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Back then, most workers rarely even had a single day to themselves. Luckily for them, there were labor unions that fought for the modern Saturday. These labor unions actually had an unlikely ally, Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company. In 1926, Ford gave all of his employees 2 days off per week. This inspired numerous companies to follow suit. Ford claimed that his overworked employees became less productive and never had time to go buy any of the products that they made. Though he never cared about his employees' leisure time, he knew that it was good for his own business, for them to have an extra day off. For decades, companies followed, and the average hours worked per week continued to decrease until the 1970s, when that number started to reverse. We now work 4 more weeks a year than we did in 1979. And all of those extra hours are terrible for business. In A.E. Dembe's research in The Impact of Overtime and Long Work Hours on Occupational Injuries and Illnesses journal, working overtime increases the rate of mistakes and safety mishaps of industrial workers by 61%. And longer hours also lower the scores of cognitive performance tests, which means employers are literally working their employees stupid. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2015 says that Germany has the strongest economy in Europe. Well, employees in Germany work an average of 400 hours less a year than the average American worker. That is the equivalent of 10 full work weeks. Working long is not the same thing as working hard. Employees would be happier, healthier, and more productive if they had more time off. Let's look at an example. Ryan Carson is the CEO of Treehouse, which is an online school. In 2006, he switched his whole company to a 4-day work week. He stated, "When people come to work well rested, they have more energy and better ideas. We are able to retain top talent for longer, which saves us a ton of money in the long term." He says business is not the only thing that is benefited by the 4-day work week. He also says, "If I'm lucky, I have 2,500 weekends left in my entire life. And with the 4-day work week, I get 50% more time with my wife and kids, and that's what's important to me." As we can see, there are actually instances where facts support the notion of having a 4-day work week, and working more hours can potentially be dangerous to the employee and the company. Not only would the employees be much happier and more productive having a 3-day weekend, the business together as a whole will get more work done, which will, in the long term, result in the conservation of resources and money. Present your employer with these studies and facts, and it could be that you will be enjoying some extra time off and be more inspired to do your job well. Thank you.